Sometimes I genuinely wonder what these pressers are for, what Trump thinks they're for, what the reporters think they're for. Every single question, it seems, that Trump gets asked, he either makes matters worse on the subject or just leaves everyone kind of confused. And there was a lot of him refuting things that his administration officials had just said, and we'll go through on Russia's invasion of Ukraine, on India and Pakistan, on Gaza, on the economy, tariffs. It's just no value is brought. And in some cases, he makes things worse through these pressers. Now, this was supposedly the swearing in. It was the swearing in of Steve Witkoff. So now he's officially the special envoy to the Middle East. What progress is he making? We don't know. We don't know. It doesn't seem like much. But for the first Trump clip, let's start with a little context. J.D. Vance said this about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which Trump will get asked about. By the way, if you appreciate the show, please do click the subscribe button.
And I wouldn't say, I'm not yet that pessimistic on this. I wouldn't say that the Russians are uninterested in bringing this thing to a resolution. What I would say is...
They just want it to keep going. I wouldn't say they're uninterested in resolving it. I just think they keep wanting to do it, if that makes sense. I think they're interested in peace in that they wanted war. Thanks, JD.
Are uninterested in bringing this thing to a resolution. What I would say is right now, the Russians are asking for a certain set of requirements, a certain set of concessions in order to end the conflict. We think they're asking for too much, okay? Now, what the president has said is that he will walk away if he thinks he's not making progress. And I think that,
which we seem to be getting very close to that point, which would be frightening because we don't know how supportive of Ukraine Trump will be in the case of him, quote unquote, walking away, right? And he seems to be going through the process of realizing what President Joe Biden realized way earlier, which is Putin's intentions. When Vance goes, they just have like these demands. Would you like to outline what they are? Because that proves how unserious Putin is about peace. But I saw in that same appearance, there was still a lot of this, despite them finally articulating rage towards Russia. There's still a lot of this. Both sides are just making some tough demands. Ukraine's like, hey, we should be able to defend ourselves in the future if they ever attack again. Hey, we don't like that they're illegally taking our land. And Russia's like, give it to us. Both sides, who knows? But here was Trump getting asked about this. Watch how confused he seems. He goes, I think we...
Would you support Vice President Vance said Russia was asking for too much to end the war. Given that, do you still have confidence that...
When did he say that?
Earlier this morning.
Well, it's possible that he's right. He may know some things that, because I've been dealing with this and some other things, but we are getting to a point where some decisions are going to have to be made. I'm not happy about it.
About what? The negotiations, I guess.
I don't even know.
What is that for? We are getting to a point where decisions will have to be made. I'm not happy about it. Okay. All right. Now, he started saying this talking point, which is after saying for so long that Joe Biden was incompetent and was a warmonger because he couldn't end Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Trump is now realizing he's not going to. And so now he's taking a victory lap because he's alleging Russia would have taken all of Ukraine over, but now they're not going to because of Dumpy.
Are there any plans for Mr. Witkoff to travel once again to Russia? And as you mentioned in your remarks, he's traveled to Russia on a number of occasions. He's met with President Putin. What type of progress is being made as it relates to all of those visits that he's made to Russia?
I think a lot, because I think Russia wanted to take all of Ukraine and they've stopped. That's a lot of...
That's so crazy. I'm trying to think of a good analogy for that. I can't, but he says So we've made progress because Russia was going to take over all of Ukraine, but now they don't want to. Or they wanted to take over all of Ukraine, and then throughout the Biden years kept failing because Ukraine was defending themselves so effectively. And in the first few months got essentially all the land that they'd end up occupying, and then didn't make progress for years after that because of the defense of Ukraine of themselves. But he's just sort of moving the goalpost. No, I did get peace because now they're not going to take over, which they couldn't even before, all of Ukraine. You saw Witkoff standing behind him. Now he's officially the special envoy to both Russia and the Middle East. And remember, it's this Steve Witkoff. And then we'll move on to trade.
What did you think of him?
This is about Putin. What did you think of him? Was he a sweetheart? I always found him pretty. Does he cook? Does he cook for himself? Is he a morning person?
What did you think of him?
I liked him.
Yep.
I thought he was straight up with me. Of course, by the way, I've said that. And you can imagine, by the way, I say that, I get pilloried. Oh my gosh, you're
Oh, you're such a victim. People get so mad at you for saying a brutal, murderous dictator is someone that you like. And whenever you come to greet him, you do this. Hand on his heart. Like it's the national anthem or something. Hello. Hi. It's so good to meet you. I took a little tinky in my pants. I'm sorry. Do you have a towel? I need to wipe on my pants. I took a little pee-pee. So that's Witkoff. Now he, according to Tucker, is one of the greatest diplomats in history, despite only, as we're going to get to with India and Pakistan's latest example, only more conflict breaking out, despite Trump saying he's the peace president and him threatening to take over our allies and annex our allies. That's the peace president to MAGA now. Who knows? Well, Aaron Rupar posted on a different subject. Hours after Bessent left the door open to lowering tariffs on China, Trump says he's not open to pulling back tariffs on China. They don't. China! They don't have a clear message on China.
China says in order to have substantive negotiations, you have to bring down your 145% tariffs. Are you open to pulling back your tariffs in order to get China to the negotiating table?
No.
Mr. President,
Well, that was a clear answer. No. Why is he never that clear on anything else? They're playing this dumb game of alpha mailing off, which is we won't negotiate with you. So they're not even beating their chest. They're not even doing this whole beat off contest over the actual negotiations. Jaden had water in his mouth. Sorry. But you didn't go on your computer, did you? Okay. They're not even doing it over the negotiations. They're doing it over deciding if they're going to negotiate. And so it's, you have to call us. No, you have to call us. And we're not going to even lower the tariffs or negotiate about lowering the tariffs until you call us. Really? Just how about y'all do 3, 2, 1, call, and just do it at the same time. Then neither of you had to lose. Here's Bessent.
They would not talk unless the reciprocal trade tariff of 145% was removed. Would it be likely that you would be able to go back to the president and say, to show good faith, we could drop this down in the interim to 50%? Could that be in the cards?
Laura, I'm not going to negotiate. You're on TV. You're one of the most popular anchors in the world. So I'm not going to give away our strategy. Look, everything's on the table. It's up to the president at the end of the day. The president.
I have a quick story to tell you. So God, he was up in heaven, and there's a little factory. You know when they make, like, God, this is how God makes people. Okay, ready? And like a little mold of a person comes across the assembly line, and God and Jesus, they're all like ready. They're there. And then you're injecting little shots, and it's like, the life force, the language comprehension, the family origin, like all the little characteristics of someone. And one of the little things is the personality, right? And there was this one little baby that was coming across in its mold, and they injected with all these things, and they forgot to inject it with the personality. And one day, that baby grew up to be the Treasury Secretary. So Scott, he said the door was open. Trump says, no, the door's not open. And so they're not even open to lowering these crazy high tariffs on China just to start a negotiation. Justin Wolfers, The Economist, responded to this.
I want to tell you how an economist thinks about this. Trump is right to say that at some point there will be a deal with China. You know, it's not going to be 145% tariff forever. So I don't know if it's, you know, and he's waiting, he's sitting by the phone waiting for Xi to call. That's the current White House position. Now, I'm told actually the White House is capable of outgoing phone calls as well. I'm not sure why he won't avail himself of that possibility. But the way an economist thinks about this is one day there's going to be a deal. That might be in 6 months, might be in 12 months, might be in 3 months. Between now and then, all trade between the two countries, essentially all trade is going to be cut off, which means that businesses are going to have to reorganize their production. They're going to have to reorganize their supply chains and so on and so forth. And it's incredibly expensive. It may even cause a recession in the United States in order to get to that outcome. So here's the efficient thing to do. And here's, listen up, Mr. President, figure out what that is and then make that deal today instead. And then we can avoid all the...
Okay. By the way, we've been sold... Speaking of waiting by the phone, I'm still waiting by the phone, Justin, for you to come on the show. I really like how he talks about things, so it'd be fun to chat. But we've been sold this bill of goods, right? We've been sold the idea that Trump, despite him he might seem like a fool, but really it's strategic uncertainty, right? As Besant told us in a different clip we covered on the morning show, which you can catch live at 10:30 Eastern time, streaming live on the YouTube channel. He told us that there's this asymmetric information that Trump has. And so he's leveraging that through his activity to get a better deal for the United States.
Bullshit.
Exactly. That he is doing some complex negotiating things that your stupid little mind couldn't even get it around. Okay. You couldn't even understand if you tried the complex negotiating Trump's doing. Then we learn they're not negotiating. Then we learn the whole complex strategy is just slapping massive tariffs on China and sitting and waiting until they tell us what deal that we'll make. To which China goes, no. And now we're stuck. And every day, the economy gets worse. And every day, supply chains get more unraveled. But that's supposed to be the genius negotiating, was literally just doing something aggressive and then sitting on your hands. That's it. And just waiting to see if a deal will be dropped in your lap. And the more Trump talks about these things, the less it is clear he understands.
And the Houthis. Yeah.
The Houthis. The Houthis. Or as Marjorie Greene said on a recent interview, the Houthis or the Houthis or the Houthas, I don't know.
And the Houthis. Yeah.
Announce later this week.
Well, I can announce all of them now. I could announce 50 to 100 deals right now because, you know, I'm the shopkeeper and I keep the store. And, you know, I know what countries are looking for and I know what we're looking for.
Witkoff is literally bouncing as this is happening.
And, you know, I know what countries are looking for and I know what we're looking for. And I can just set those terms and they can go shopping or they don't have to go shopping because everybody wants to shop here. This is like a beautiful store. This is like one of Bernard Arnault, or maybe I should say Alex, even more importantly, young, the future. But
if I smile and bounce enough, maybe he won't know that this doesn't make any sense, says Witkoff. So what's interesting is Trump is saying, this is so his he loves this metaphor. We are the shop. We are like a big store. And other countries, they just will have to pay us like a Costco membership to come into the store. And so when I say that I've made all these deals, what I mean is I could make all the deals if I wanted to, because I just set the price that they have to pay us to shop in our store. But what he has said is that the issue is people aren't buying enough US products, and we're the ones buying abroad too much. So the real metaphor would be we're not the shop at all. We're the consumer, and we've decided to walk away from the store. And so then the stores are saying, hey, maybe you should come back. Now it's more complex than that because there's little stores and little consumers in both the United States and abroad, and we do trade. That's what trade is. And we do buy, we do sell, we do buy, we do sell. And he genuinely keeps repeating and seems to believe that if we aren't purchasing US products, if we aren't purchasing products from other countries, then we're saving and we're benefiting economically. When in reality, the reason why we, as I explained the other day, as it pertains to cars, because he said something similar, is we've built an economically beneficial structure that sometimes should be tweaked and altered, but not completely thrown out, where because we can get this product for this price from this country, we then have more money over here to spend on this thing in our country, or we have this part of a product, this part of a car that then we put and we assemble the car in the United States, so then we can make money when we sell it, so then we can hire people whenever we assemble it. All of that, though, gets whittled down to we are Costco. This is Costco. And we're just, Trump is just deciding how much a Costco membership is going to cost. Not how it works. Not how it works at all. So the Fed is saying, sorry, we can't lower interest rates. Again, incoming angry True Social posts. Fed holds rates and flags heightened uncertainty about the economy. I'll show you here the Fed Chair Jerome Powell.
What looks likely, given the scope and scale of the tariffs, is that we will see certainly the risks to higher inflation, higher unemployment have increased. And if that's what we do see, if the tariffs are ultimately put in place at those levels, which we don't know, then we won't see further progress toward our goals. But we might see a delay in that. I think in our thinking, we would never do anything but keep achieving those goals. But we would, at least for the next, let's say, year, we would not be making progress toward those goals. Again, if that's the way the tariffs shake out. The thing is, we don't know that. There's so much uncertainty about the scale, scope, timing, and persistence of the.
Yeah. So that's Fed chair speak for Trump be crazy. We don't know. Okay. That's what he's really, I can sum it up for him. Trump be crazy. Because when he says we don't know how to respond to this because we don't know what Trump's going to do tomorrow. He rolled out his whole Liberation Day thing. And then when it was all set to go into effect, he rolled back most of it. So they don't know how to respond. They don't know what to do because he doesn't have an actual plan. Quick pause from that stuff. We'll get back to this. Other questions asked to him and some important updates there. But I came across this video of Kevin O'Leary, the Shark Tank guy and businessman. I don't know where he is. I don't know why he's in that outfit. I don't know what he's doing, but he's in some sort of robe and he's talking about Doge. And listen to what he says about Elon.
I have a lot of respect for Elon. I'm going to say this quickly, but in life, you're going to meet people, and I worked for Steve.
It's a cute outfit. I'm not saying it's a bad outfit. It's a cute outfit. I like it. You look good in it, Kevin.
I have a lot of respect for Elon. I'm going to say this quickly, but in life, you're going to meet people, and I worked for Steve Jobs. He was about 80% signal, 10% noise, which means he was a very focused guy, not easy to work with, very unpopular, really nasty guy, but he really got it. Elon has no noise. He's 100% signal. He wastes zero time in his day because he can't, but it does.
All right, a couple thoughts. Number one, why did he say 80-10? Doesn't that add up? Let's do the math. Ready? 80, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And then 10 we'll say is like 1 in that. So then 9. And 8 plus 10, 8 plus 2, 8, 90. But Elon's 100% signal. Steve Jobs has a missing 10%. If my math is correct, I don't know. Or maybe there's like 10% something else. 10%. He's 80% signal, 10% noise, 10% fun. I don't know. But Elon apparently is 100% signal. So that's focus, right? That's productivity. What about the fact that literally we've now seen assessments that the Doge cuts, because of which employees they're cutting, which process, the gutting of the IRS is going to lose our government billions of dollars? Not save, we're going to waste, or the wasting of mass USAID resources because they wanted to do it so quickly. They didn't just finish out those products and then cut. So all of that's just perfect streamlined productivity to Kevin O'Leary, who's just become a big cheerleader of everything Trump lately. 100% signal. Then again, back to my point about what are these even for? He doesn't ever give us new insights. He gets asked about India and Pakistan now engaged in military conflict, and in some ways, like we haven't seen in decades. The fear is we could be on the brink of an all-out war between the two nuclear powers, and he gets asked and he says a bunch of meaningless stuff.
Yeah. Diplomatic actions between the war in India and Pakistan. What's your position?
Oh, it's so terrible. My position is I get along with both. I know both very well, and I want to see them work it out. I want to see them stop, and hopefully they can stop now. They've gone tit for tat. So hopefully they can stop now. But I know both. We get along with both the countries very well. Good relationships with both, and I want to see it stop. And if I can do anything to help, I will be there.
Is that all? I mean, it reminds me of the gotta settle thing with Ukraine.
You gotta settle.
Which was his solution to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It didn't work, but he always knows everyone so well. We get along great. I get along great with Putin. I get along great with Xi. I get along great with Zelensky. I get along great with Pakistan. I get along great with India. So everyone should just stop. Stop. Well, I can do that too. Hey, stop. Stop. Anyone killing anybody, stop it. Here's an update on that, by the way.
The death toll is rising from Indian military strikes on Pakistan, raising fears that two nuclear-armed rivals are moving closer to war. A Pakistani military spokesperson tells Reuters at least 26 civilians have been killed and 46 injured. India claims to have targeted terrorist infrastructure in several locations inside Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir. India insists its missile strikes were, quote, focused and precise and designed to be non-escalatory in nature. But Pakistan rejects that claim. Pakistan also says it shot down 5 Indian Air Force jets and a drone. CNN cannot independently confirm those claims. And this just in, according to a senior Indian defense source, Pakistani shelling in Indian-administered Kashmir has now killed 8 people. These back-and-forth attacks come about 2 weeks after gunmen massacred 26 tourists in Indian-administered Kashmir. India quickly accused Pakistan of supporting terrorists in the region. Pakistan denied any responsibility. The two sides have also been exchanging.
Goes on to more context, but obviously really frightening. And to be frank, well, number one, tragic, and civilians are dying. And then in addition, I don't feel great. I don't feel better that the U.S. president right now is Trump. With any foreign affairs, the fact that Trump is the one who, if the U.S. leverages its geopolitical weight to involve itself pursuing peace, it's going to be Trump on the phone. Ugh. One little update, because this was mentioned at the press conference, President Donald Trump has issued a proclamation designated Thursday as a day for the United States to celebrate victory in World War II, as countries in Europe already do. It was kind of going around that originally they were going to try to change Veterans Day to Victory Day for World War I, and then there was backlash for obvious reasons, and they jumped it over, said, no, actually, we'll do it in honor of World War II. That's fine. I love victory. The election interfering 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris is how Trump's recent post reads on Truth Social. And he goes on to say they manipulated and doctored and all the lies we've addressed before. But do you know why he's so mad about this again? As he's suing 60 Minutes and threatening them, and executive producer leaving because Trump's pressuring them so much to do coverage that only he likes. Because the Emmys gave 60 Minutes, CBS, a nomination for their interview with Kamala Harris. And this is Trump's been obsessed with that interview, and it's so terrible and so illegal, and I'm going to be against the First Amendment now. And literally they're nominated for that exact program for an Emmy. It's too good. It's too beautiful. Good job, Emmys. And then on Gaza.
Where?
In Gaza.
In Gaza. Well, we're going to see what's happening. There's a lot of talk going on about Gaza right now. You know that, right? So you'll be knowing probably in the next 24 hours.
No insights ever. Unless he's about to, these pressers are just a chance for him to give the same, I don't really know, answer over and over again, except for when he wants to blurt out, I think the U.S. should take over Gaza, right? Or the equivalent insanity on any other issue. Share your thoughts in the comments. Get the bonus show by clicking that join button below.